No, he's after me, radishes. It's finally May, and my garden's starting to wake up. From tomatoes to potatoes, I've got it brewing this year, and some big plans on growing in containers too. Stick around, because if you're working with raised beds or just a few pots on the patio, there's something here for you. Last month, we did a 30-day challenge to get your garden set up, and one of my viewers asked me to make a video showing how my garden turned out afterwards. Now, I have not swept back here all week, so it's kind of a disaster. Are you planning to grow in the ground? Or are you thinking more in containers this year? Every spring feels like a fresh start. Some years I have a master plan, and well, some years I just follow the seeds wherever they lead me. This year, it's a little bit of both. Today I'll walk you through what's already growing, what's still going in, and what big changes we have set up for my garden in 2025. First up, my San Marzano tomatoes. Now, these are a must for me because I'm dreaming about pasta sauce by August. So as you can see, I've got a couple of these tomatoes that I grew from seedlings. I started them on the same day in the same tray. Now the difference here is that I put them into different kinds of cups. This one appears to have a little bit more drainage available, but this guy has plenty of drainage. So I'm not 100% sure. I'm thinking maybe it's just based off of where I had them on my shelf, getting some of their natural sunlight as well as some of this artificial sunlight with these grow lamps. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to swap them, see if that changes anything. Maybe that guy will get a little bit bigger. Maybe he's just sitting just perfectly for the sun to hit him right there. So we're going to see what happens. All right, so this is a little wild. I bought a pepper variety pack. It was a seed pack that I purchased on Amazon, and it was a variety of different seeds. They didn't give me any indication as to what would be mixed in. So I am just seeing what happens with these guys. And this one appears to be in really healthy shape. He's got some true leaves growing. He's really close together with his true leaves and his initial leaves, which means he wasn't stretching for light. He's in a good spot. So I'm going to go ahead and put him back. But we've definitely got tons of peppers. We've got, I think I planted a total of 12 of those mystery seeds. And on top of that, I also had some jalapeno seeds that I had harvested from a jalapeno last year. It was an organic one. I'm not sure if that will have any impact on its ability to create fruit, but we will see, because that's what I'm doing. Whether it produces fruit or not, we're going to have a big luscious jalapeno plant sitting outside, and hopefully big agriculture doesn't stop me from being able to grow some fruit with their seeds, although I wouldn't be surprised if they did. Really wouldn't. This whole thing's going to be a big spicy surprise, because I'm going to be putting them into individual containers, and they are going to be going out at the hottest time of the summer. Now, if you've never grown one of these guys before, this is Delicata squash. Now, this is way easier to handle than your bigger squash varieties like your zucchinis. And we all know somebody who's our best friend that brings us a giant zucchini because they didn't get to it to harvest it in time, or just because they had too many zucchini on their plant. And so we always end up with one giant zucchini that's this big, that is flavorless, and it has, I mean, it's like trying, you got to get a chainsaw out to cut it because it's just so hard. I mean, Delicata squash is going to be a much smaller variety. You're going to get a smaller piece of fruit, and you can eat the skins, and it's just a delicious squash. So I highly recommend looking into a Delicata squash plant. This guy, I put 3 seeds in, 2 of them have germinated, so I'm going to say that's 66%. 66% is not terrible, but I guess this is only the first time I planted them. These seeds are a couple of years old, so we'll see how it grows. Yeah. Now right here I've got some spring burpless cucumbers. They are less bitterness, and they're much easier on the stomach. These are perfect for fresh eating or turning into pickles later this summer. We're going to plant these guys once they sprout. These guys have not sprouted yet, but I just planted them a couple of days ago. So we're going to see when they sprout, but we're going to put them into one of the 100-gallon grow bags and add a trellis system on that, so that way they can get as much light as possible and produce as much delicious fruit for me and my family. Radishes are my instant gratification crop. It takes less than 30 days for them to go from seed to fruit in your garden. Just make sure they get plenty of sunlight and make sure to keep them away from those squirrels. You're evil. Back here we have my sugar snap peas. They're the snack of the garden. I absolutely love these things. You can just walk out and snap one right off and just eat it right off the vine. They're delicious. So I put up a trellis system just so that way they would be able to grow out of this box down here and have a good guidance system so that way I can get as many of them as possible because they're freaking delicious. I've got potatoes tucked into these grow containers. I am building them up, just adding extra dirt just to cover them up. The idea is that they will continue to grow taller and taller, developing more of those potatoes that we want to harvest. And finally, the backbone crops are onions and my favorite, garlic. This garlic went in last fall and it's already reaching up tall. I'm a poet and I didn't know it, but my feet show it. They're long fellows. And the onions are just getting settled for a late summer harvest. So that's what's going into the raised beds, but the layout this year is changing as well. We've actually expanded out and have added an additional 100-gallon grow bag out here. It's not full yet, but what I've done is I've taken some of this rockier soil that's mixed with, we'll just call it some chicken manure, and lined the bottom with some cardboard, filled up a little bit of this straw, put that soil with the rocks on top of it. Now, what I'm hoping for is that there's enough nutrients in the soil that it'll help with fruit production for when the zucchini plant is actually planted in here. But what I'm going to end up doing is I'm going to get another bag or two of either compost or some potting soil and fill this bad boy up a little bit more so that way it's got some nice thick soil that it can root into and develop plenty of that delicious zucchini. We're also not going to be wasting any space. What I'm going to be doing is I'm going to be using some old recycled bottles and other materials and hang them from this fence so that way we can grow some other, maybe some greens, maybe some herbs, things like that in those bottles and really make sure that we're utilizing as much space as possible. And we did also install a drip irrigation system. Now, what I'm going to have to do with this guy is get another piece of solid rubber tube and another one of these adapters so that way I don't have a drip line running across my sidewalk. My dad always told me there's no sense in watering your sidewalk. You're not going to grow anything. And I don't want to waste any of that rainwater that we're gathering. So we're going to have to find another piece of rubber hose for that. Now, as you can see, I've got these 3 bins right here. These are all 3 my compost bins. This allows me to have some time difference between when the compost develops and when I get to use it. Now, I have emptied all 3 of them and have started fresh compost bins. So these guys are filled with lots of kitchen scraps and a lot of yard debris right now. So the browns are mixing in with the greens and we're waiting for some rain so that way it can get in the top of these barrels because as you can see, these have holes drilled in there so that way some of the water can get in and to help that make sure that the compost biodegrades properly so that way it can be used effectively for our garden next year. And back here we have one of my trellis systems. So I've adapted this to the furniture that my dad built. He had originally designed this to be a flower bed and to have flowers up here, which is exactly what we're going to do. We're going to put marigolds up in these 5 bins up here just to help with keeping some of the pests away. But down here we've got sugar snap peas and yeah, I have a couple of Swiss chards back there that started to sprout this spring. I planted them in there last fall and the seeds didn't take off, but apparently they did now. So we've got a couple of those guys in there and we're just going to let them grow until they get to full size. And then back over here we have one of my many setups for my herb garden. I've got some of the herbs that I use most frequently. This way they're close to my kitchen door and I can access them when I feel like having some time, or some chives, which is pretty often, I'll be honest. Chives are delicious in just about everything. I will be honest, I don't use as much of the sage as I thought I would. So sage, I'm probably not going to grow more of that. I do also have another rosemary plant as well. And over here, we're going to be making the most of every inch of my yard using pots and other containers to grow things like those tomatoes that I showed you, the San Marzanos, as well as some of those peppers. So this is going to be a very good spot to be in. We're also going to have herbs tucked in all sorts of little containers throughout. We're probably going to be growing some basil along with those tomatoes in the buckets because I've heard that they're great for companion planting. And then of course over here we have these potatoes that are sprouting right next to these onion bags. We're definitely going to be getting a lot of potatoes. We have white potatoes, purple potatoes, and russet potatoes planted this year. We're also going to take another one of those 100-gallon grow bags and we're going to plant 2 of those cucumbers in there. And I am already dreaming about my first tomato sandwich of the season. I just can't wait. But honestly, I'm just as excited to see what survives and what thrives. You can plan all you want, but nature still writes her own story. Now, stick with me if you want to see regular updates about how this garden grows this season. And next month, we'll be testing to see how those container cucumbers are going to grow and if they're going to work great with those trellises. What's one thing you always grow, no matter what, every year? Have you ever had a mystery crop like my peppers? Thanks for hanging out with me. And if you want to keep up with all the changes that are happening in this garden and more, make sure that you hit like and subscribe. And don't forget to comment, what are you planting in your garden this month?